because ladies are always should come first. So I will start introducing our honorable and beloved ladies. Please welcome Bosa Sebele, lawyer and human rights defender. Bosa is an admitted attorney, conventor, and notary public in the courts of Botswana. She has over 5 years experience in social justice advocacy. She has volunteered for some international organizations advocating on issues relating to migration, peace and security, and also sexual reproductive health rights. She is currently the Africa Regional Focal Point on Migration of the UN General Assembly mandated UN Major Group for Children and Youth. Bosa, welcome you. Bosa, are you with me? Bosa?
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm right here.
Yes, thank you. Could you please tell us more about social media and its contribution to spread hate speech? And from your point of view, how can youth make a real difference, or a real different impact in combating it? Not just in South Africa region, but in Africa in general. The floor is yours, 15 minutes, please.
Definitely, thank you so much. All right, so also just to add on to your very beautiful introduction, Abdullah Raham, I'm also a avid social media user. So I see social media really as a tool more than anything. Thank you. I see it more of a tool than anything that we as young people can use to better our lives and also just to get the message across, especially as activists. You know, I've done a lot of, especially during this COVID era, we've been doing a lot of our work on social media, and really we've seen the difference that it can make. And yeah, essentially that is how I view social media. Now, social media, as great as I paint it to be, also has its disadvantages, so to speak. You know, there's a level of familiarity that people have on social media, and that has opened a lot of room or a lot of doors for a certain level of hatred and crudeness that comes with the usage of social media. This is in just generally, actually, in a general global context. That is what we see on Twitter, Instagram, and hate speech really, it's a broad concept. Hate speech could be discrimination on the basis of race, religion, gender identity. It could be cyberbullying. There's a lot that constitutes hate speech. And from my point of view, I come from Botswana, as already mentioned. So I come from a country where I've never seen civil unrest. However, as the saying goes, really, the absence of war does not mean that there's peace. The absence of war does not mean that there's peace. So even with that, having to every day go on social media and you find the most vile comments on certain things, be it your political affiliation or your religious beliefs, that's a problem. And that is a problem that we face as young people, because now there's two rights that are conflicting here. This is your freedom to expression, your freedom to speech, and then your other right that says, no, but you should not be subjected to hate speech. This is a fundamental right as well. So this is where now we need to just find a way to draw the line. And this is where laws and policies come into place. This is where there needs to be a lot of awareness as well. And when we talk about laws and policies as well, we need to really discuss and dissect the laws to the T to make sure that there's absolutely no room for a different kind of interpretation or no gray areas in that law that could potentially also create a lot of confusion, so to speak. Now, on the issue of really social media in our generation, as I said, social media is a tool that we also need to learn how to use so not to make a weapon out of it. Social media is a tool that we also need to have, draw lines, have boundaries, so to speak, you know, and the engagement of certain stakeholders in this context also matters. We need to engage, especially in conversations such as these. And I applaud Maat for even coming up with this initiative and this webinar, because it is very important, and it's something that is maybe that we overlook, that is the impact that social media does have on the peace and security landscape in Africa. And that is a very big issue right now. And the importance of having other relevant stakeholders is also important. Having your influencers at the table is also important, because they are social media influencers. They work with people. They engage us more than anything on social media. Social media houses the creators of your Facebooks and your Twitters. They're also relevant parties who need to have a say. This is your leaders as well. You know, we also need to engage states, and we also need to engage civil society organizations to really bring to the table. And this will definitely assist us in combating hate speech in the African region. Another important area that I think would also be important to highlight is also the need for political and social will. Now, this goes to the ground level now. We cannot want to combat hate speech or do away with hate speech without really going into the very essence of why hate speech is a social ill, and why we are dealing with with hate speech in the African context or within our communities. What creates this a level of familiarity that I spoke about earlier, where it's okay for certain things to be put online? Now, this goes to, as I said, the very basic fundamental levels of being a human being. What is so wrong that we cannot then respect other people's choices? So this is both a psychological and a mental thing, really. And also, that's also something that is also very important to dissect and highlight and find ways around that. Yes, apart from that, really, that is my key take for today. And thank you very much for the audience. And I'm looking forward to the questions.
Thank you very much, Bosa. By the way, I know you before from social media, so I think you are one of the influencers that I think that you can make a very important role for youth, because a lot of youth, from my point of view, take you as a role model for them, as a successful woman and successful young woman. So thank you very much for your presentation and for tackling the point of the area of social media impact in combating hate speech, and also the need for political and social will to combat it. Thank you very much, and please wait for us to the questions. Thank you very much. I think there is another question for Bosa. This is from Ms. Asma. What is the alternative to extremist rhetoric on social media? What can we offer youth different from the hate speech from terrorist groups and so on? What can we offer for them? Bosa, are you with us?
Yes, I am with you. I'm just trying to locate that question in the chat. All right.
The last question.
The last question, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, yes. So in terms of really changing the rhetoric or the narrative, we also need to, the alternative is, as I said prior, is now the awareness and knowledge aspect that we seem to maybe not delve into much. And that's why I then said it's important for us to also have spaces such as these. Because um, I'm not going to say majority, or some people may not necessarily know that that is hate speech, or that what they're saying on social media is hate speech. Because we're told that we have the fundamental right to speech, we're told that we have the fundamental right to express ourselves, right? So we're not told the parameters or the limitations, so to speak, on what now borders on the freedom of expression, what now is hate speech, all of that. So that's when now the awareness and the knowledge then is very important for us to now take it down. Also, one important thing that we also need to take cognizance of is that most of the people that do actually are on social media and saying the most vile things are not people who are on these tables or having these discussions with us, because we know better. So we also need to take it to the ground level, and we also need to educate our people. And that is how now we then nip this thing in the bud and say, okay, this is how we can get rid of, or rather, this is how we can do away with hate speech. In the most simpler terms, that's how I would put it. Thank you.
Thank you, but wait please, wait for us. Another question directed to you. I think from Bato. Yes, Bosa spoke quite well to hate speech on social media. What part can we play as social media users to combat this? Besides, of course, not posting hate speech, what should we do to ensure it doesn't spread? He's now talking about the users themselves.
Okay, so now in terms of not ensuring that it doesn't spread, recall during my presentation earlier, I said it's also very important for us to now involve your key stakeholders, and that is the very people who created the social media platforms. What are they doing, or how do we bring them to the table and say, but you know, this very important tool that you've created has also opened or left room for hate speech, or it's creating a platform for that. So what then can you, what can you do? What can you do to assist us as social media users? It's also important as a social media user like myself, if I see something that I don't agree with, you report it. That's also very important. You report such tweets, you report those individuals, you know, you report those. Actually, just the other day, 2 or 3 days ago, as I was, I tweeted something to do with what's happening in Ethiopia right now. You know, the TPLF and Tigray. And I got so many tweets, more than 50 in one day. And some of them were these bots, some were spam accounts. It was really terrible, you know? And it just goes to tell you that really it's crazy in social media. You tweet one thing, and if people don't agree with you, you will get a number of tweets addressed at you, and that is hate speech fundamentally. So you block such things, you report it. That is very important. That is the more practical level of it as a social media user. And you do not retweet either. All right.
Yes, thank you very much. But please, the last question for you, but this is my question. I should have asked you after your presentation, but it's okay. I am following you on Twitter, and I see that the African, and you are participating in an African Union campaign, which is led by African Union Peace and Security Department. So if you can, in 1 minute, tell us more about this campaign, and how can we consider it as a good practice in combating hate speech?
All right. Am I?
Yeah, you've got 2 minutes.
Right. So
questions.
Yes. So the African Union Peace and Security Department saw it fit to really, they've been working on many campaigns prior to this one, that's silencing the guns, and they then saw that one of the other fundamental issues we're dealing with right now is hate speech on the continent. So the launch of the campaign involved activists such as myself, influencers around the continent as well. These were people with a large following on social media, with fashion bloggers, TV presenters. These are people with influence. They get to, you watch them on television, you see them every day. So the campaign is centered around really, firstly, combating hate speech by saying these people who are at the forefront are saying, let's say no to this. Let's do away with bullying and bullying in the more not lighter note, but bullying would mean, we're with fashion designers, so they felt like, okay, they get bullied all the time according to the way they dress and all of that. So they've taken hate speech from the way we view it in the activist world, where we deal with terrorism and we silencing the guns. They're now taking it to the surface level of, we want to do away with body shaming and bullying and etc. So yes, the campaign is really just, let's bring everybody to the table, every single person to the table, and let's combat hate speech. What you see on social media, create awareness. If someone tweets something, respond to that and say, but that's hate speech. You shouldn't be able to say this, while educating the person at the same time, and not also, creating a lot of drama there, but just educating at the same time.
Yes, I agree with you, and we all support you in that. I think we can make difference together in the future about this campaign and our campaigns also. And I think what you have said is related to what Bernard said in his presentation about the contradiction between hate speech and freedom of expression. And I think this is your role, and this is the role of civil society and so on. Thank you very much, Bosa, for your answering the questions. Thank you. Thank you. Bosa, the most important recommendation from your point of view.
Yes. Recommendation would be to create safe spaces online for all of us. Let us all, in our various capacities, to create safe spaces.
Thank you very much.